Hi everyone. Now I am going to cover the OLAP multidimensional and relational. In the OLAP, as I said, we have two. That is our ROLAP, that is nothing but the relational OLAP. Okay, relational online analytical processing, and then we have multidimensional OLAP, that is MOLAP. It is a multidimensional. Here, the difference between relational and multidimensional is, as I said, we'll have the OLTP, that will have the normalized. Okay, then we'll have the OLAP. OLAP, we have two types, that is a relational and there is a multidimensional. So the relational will have the denormalized tables. It will have the denormalized of normal and denormalized tables of OLTP. Nice tables of OLTP. And then multidimensional will have the aggregations, pre-calculated aggregations of relational OLAP. It will have the pre-calculated aggregations. Pre-calculated, I'll say pre-calculated values. Pre-calculated values of ROLAP. Now we'll see what is like pre-calculated values. Generally, how the data is being stored in our tables are, if you see the OLTP, in the OLTP the tables are like if the tables are broken, it is a normalized, and then you will store the data. In the OLAP, as I said, you have relational OLAP. So what you do in the relational OLAP, you will reduce the number of tables, you will just do the denormalization, and then you store the data. So far so good. Now the issue arises when in the relational OLAP you might have some millions of records. So far so good. If you have some 100 million, that should be good. Okay, but still, so in 2010, as I said in the first video, by 2000, end of 2010, I got 25 million records, 25 or 23 million records I have in the database. I am good. Okay, now end of 2016, I might have 200 million records, total 200 million records by end of 2016. Okay, so by end of 2010, as I have 25 million records, if I want to do run a query, because who will be using the data from OLAP? Business users. Business users uses the data from OLAP. Okay, that is ROLAP. But the issue is they will not see each and every transaction of a data. Okay, the best example is Walmart might have millions of transactions per day, but they only see total amount per the day. They will not see the million transactions. Business users are not going to analyze the data by looking each and every transaction. They just do the high level data. For looking at the high level, they will sum up all the transactions per the day. That's what they do. They do like what is this part number, or what is the item, what is the total sales, total quantity for that item which was sold on this day, or what is the total amount that was sold for this item that they got for by selling this item. Like that, they will sum up. Okay, in order to sum up, you will write aggregate functions. So if you have 25 million records, it's easy. Okay, you might sum up the 25 million records in different ways. You might sum up by using part number or item number. Okay, part number, and you can say the quantity. You can sum on the quantity sum. Then you can say, okay, Jan at the month level, you can say total quantity for year sum, year comma quantity, you can take it. You can sum the total quantity for the year. You can sum total quantity for the quarter. This is only for one scenario. Like you can sum for quantity, at the part number level, at the year level, at the quarter level. You can also do at the month level. You can also do some at the location where that was sold. What is the total quantity sold for this location? Like that, you can do it many levels. For doing that everything, you have to write a separate query for doing that. For part number S, you have to write select part number comma sum of quantity from sales table, group by part number. Okay, the same thing you have to do for the year. So you have to write aggregate query for each and everything. And if you want to calculate 10 different scenarios, you have to write 10 different aggregate queries for that. And when you have 25 million records, it's fine. But when you have 200 million records, it is going to take a lot of time. When the business users runs that query, it is going to take a lot of time for him to do, because when you run a query at the backend, you have that query will go to the database. It will take all the records, it will aggregate, and then output will be displayed to you. So that takes lot of time because of the data size. Because and the users, since if you have 200 million records, it's going to take more time. 1 minute, if they run the query, and in order to get the result, they have to wait for 2 to 5, sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, depending on the data size. So, and business users, they are highly, sometimes VPs, senior VPs, they will be analyzing the data. So they can't waste their time in analyzing this kind of data, right? That's the reason what they do. They'll use a MOLAP. As I said, multi-dimensional MOLAP means multi-dimensional OLAP, online analytical processing, multi-dimensional online analytical processing. This multi-dimensional process will have the data stored pre-calculated. So what you do, you take the aggregate data, you take the data from ROLAP, and then you submit. Sometimes you might take the data from OLTP also in some cases. What you do, you submit all the data, and then that data will be stored in the MOLAP in the multiple dimensions. Like you will have it here one, because previously in the table means 2 dimension, rows and columns, but in MOLAP the data will be stored multi-dimension. That is nothing but the cube. You might be heard about the cube, right? Cube is nothing but it's a multi-dimensional. You will have XYZ axis. So one axis you will have the year, other axis you will have the part number, and you will have the quantity somewhere in between this, and in other axis you might have the quarter, like that. Every axis will have one, and between you will have the data on different axes. So when you combine them, then you will get the data. So in the MOLAP, what will happen, the data will be stored like pre-calculated. Now what you do, you take the data from OLTP, you build a MOLAP cube. You will call it as a SSAS cube. This SSAS cube, you will build the SSAS cube. When you build it, what will happen, the data will be stored. So this all aggregations for the part number, year, quarter, month, everything will be stored and captured. It's a pre-calculated and stored here. So when the business user pulls the data directly from the cube, you will be getting pre-calculated data, calculated data. It will be fast, very fast. At the same time, whenever you want to, and once you load the data from OLTP to OLAP, that is ROLAP, relational OLAP, then once the relational OLAP is good, then you will refresh the MOLAP. That's where MOLAP will be having the up-to-date data. This is a total life cycle. OLTP to OLAP. OLAP you will have ROLAP, MOLAP. So you will take the data from OLTP and load it into ROLAP. From ROLAP, you will pre-calculated data and store it in the MOLAP. That's the reason. So whenever the business accesses the MOLAP, since the data is already pre-calculated, so it will be very easy for them. It will be very fast for them to pull the data from the MOLAP. Generally, users you can get the data from the MOLAP for the reports. Reports can use this MOLAP as a source, Excel and other stuff. That one, regarding this, how to build a queue, how to pull the data, that all we are going to study in the coming classes. That is SSAS, nothing but SQL Server Analysis Services, which is nothing but the building a queue. Okay, thank you very much, guys. We'll start the SSAS session from the next video. Thank you. Bye. See you.